Check 1, 2. Check 3, 4.
I call to order this regular meeting of the Anthony Wayne Board of Education. It is Monday, March 13th at, 6:02. Carrie, would you please call roll?
Mr. Baden, Mrs. Brent,
Here.
Mrs. Gwynn,
Here.
Mr. Lutz,
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
All right, would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, excuse me. First thing on our agenda is to approve our minutes from our February 6th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to read those? Any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Kyle, and
I'll
a second.
second.
Jan. And Carrie, would you please call roll?
Mrs. Brent,
Yes.
Mrs. Gwynn,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
All righty. Treasurer's report, Carrie.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is to approve the monthly financials for February 2023 as presented. Excuse me. Under item B is to approve the several donations listed. You'll notice it's coming up on prom season. You'll start to see donations for prom and also a $12,000 donation from the Anthony Wayne Athletic Boosters for the windscreen at the baseball field. So that was a big one. We're very appreciative of all of our donations, as always. Under item C is to approve the following funds: the Ohio K-12 Safety Grant for $450,000. That was for additional radios, cameras, all the safety and security. There's film, motion detectors, all that stuff that we've applied for. So it's not a new one, it's just a large amount. Last year, we got $150,000, so along with the other two grants I have listed there. And then under item D is to approve the advertisement of 2 regular school buses and 1 handicap school bus, and we'll look at that as being purchased out of a PI expense. So I did share that we did just get our other buses, a little behind, so we'll probably have these about this time next year unless things have gotten better. So today I shared with you that would be the deadline for the Lorain County Auditor to file the appeal. Nexus filed a motion to dismiss. It was granted. Lorain County had 30 days. Today's that day. I have not heard anything. I just checked right before the meeting started. Nothing from the attorney to give an update on that. So we don't know anything on that, other than I did share that the prosecuting attorney said that if there is a motion filed to appeal, that the county auditors have to fund the appeal.
Right.
So, but don't know anything yet. So hopefully I can send you an update tomorrow and let you know if anything's said on that.
Okay.
Couple little things that have been hot topics. The governor's budget was introduced, which is House Bill 33. And among other things, the school had a possibility in the proposal to generate roughly $565,000 in the next 2 years. That would be our increase in funding. And that's just a proposal. So since then, it didn't take long before House Bill 1 came out. And House Bill 1 is a very unique bill. There is a lot of pieces to this. One of the biggest factors that is a little bit hard to understand how this is going to work is House Bill 1 proposes that they do away with the rollback credit. So instead of the state paying that, their proposal now is that the taxpayers would pay that. So with this House bill as it's introduced, and obviously this is not to cause any type of panic because it's so early in the budget process that this is going to change probably 10 times. I know testimonies start tomorrow at 10 o'clock, so things are going to change tremendously, but the school would stand to lose $601,000 a year. However, $2.2 million is passed on to the taxpayers of our school district alone. I don't think that's going to set well with too many people in the community, but again, this is coming from the state. So there's so much that's going to change with this. When it was introduced, we've dealt with House Bill 920, which is the rollback and homestead it's in the Constitution. It's been since like 1970, 1970 something. And it prevents these spikes and decreases, and, it has the effective millage, and all that plays into it. So I don't think when this first came out, some of those things weren't considered. So we have no idea where things are going to go. It's, like I said, it's very early in the process, but I don't think this one's going to set well with, any taxpayer to look at it like this, let alone a school district, because if we're going to lose that kind of money, and then we have to go to the taxpayers to get more money, to generate more money, I don't think this is going to be a win-win situation by any means. So just wanted to put that out there on your radar. It's going to probably go on and on and on. The budget bill has to be signed by June 30th by the governor, so we have lots of time. But again, just wanted to share that little highlight because it is a lot to digest. So, but we got a long time, so don't panic. And that is all I have.
Okay.
Sorry.
On the buses, are we anticipating a big increase, or do we know?
I think it's going to be about the same. We usually trade and get a whopping, $2,500 for a bus, but they'll probably be around the same, 135, 140,000.
With the special ed bus being more.
Yeah, that'll be
more,
more.
'cause
Yeah,
it
that's a
went
good point.
differently, yeah.
Yes, that will be more.
Okay.
And as of right now, there's no bus reimbursement. Last year, we had 135,000. This year, that is not in the budget.
Okay.
The governor's budget.
Right,
That was part of the
going
governor's.
for- okay.
Right.
Any questions for the treasurer's report?
For the safety grant money, is that part of the facilities as well, or is that completely separate?
It's
from-
completely separate. We had applied for a grant last year and received $150,000. Really what it ends up being is $100,000 per building. And so the specifics of the grant dictate what you can, what you're allowed to use that money for. And so the great news is that we have a lot of safety features already, but this money is going to allow us to even add to that, and make some improvements as well. So we're finalizing that right now, because part of it's going to have to involve some architectural work as well, and we're trying to work through that process at this time. But the good news is that it's significant dollars, from the state, in this grant, moving into the district for these reasons, instead of us having to raise it locally.
Right,
So,
perfect, thank you.
and can I mention just one thing too? I want to add to what Carrie shared with House Bill 1. It is early in the process for House Bill 1, but when it's the first bill for the House, it's usually their priority. And the concern is that, as Carrie stated, really the essence of it is to reduce your income tax as a state, person living in the state of Ohio, working, right? And they're going to do that by taking taxes from real estate and putting it into that fund to reduce that, the income tax. The problem is quite frankly, Ohio School Board Association put out an information piece today that said that would cause $929 million annually in a tax increase on residential and agricultural properties in the state of Ohio, while business property and commercial taxes would go down by $157 million. That's interesting to me. And then local governments and schools across the state would lose $538 million as a result of this bill. And as Carrie shared, $601,000 a year is significant because that's more than what we're getting in an increase in the governor's budget for 2 years, right? So it's definitely a net decrease in just in those two bills alone, moving forward. Those out there in the community that want to see what's going on with your state legislature, you can feel free to go on to the Ohio channel, which is on the internet. You can look it up. Tomorrow, the House Ways and Means Committee will hold hearings on House Bill 1. You can watch what's going on. Contact your House of Representative, Derek Marin, who is the vice chair of that committee, who's hearing that, and feel free to share your thoughts with them on that bill moving forward. So it's an opportunity for all of us to share our thoughts in regards to House Bill 1.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, one more question on the buses.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So this is tends to be an annual process, right? So I just want to touch on that this is just a way to keep the fleet.
Yeah, basically, it's a purchase plan, you know, I mean, we have, 54 buses on the road every day. You know, there's a lot of wear and tear.
We have 48 buses
Or, sorry.
roughly-ish.
Some extra.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
some extras
Backups,
because you have ones break down and you have to replenish, but also you have to have extras for field trips and
Yeah.
things like that that are going out as well.
Yeah, but, I mean, we just have to maintain, and,
Yes.
you know, we would like to be probably buying 4 a year, so, but,
Otherwise, you find yourself in a situation where if you defer, right, you find yourself in a situation where you have to buy 10. or 12.
exactly.
So I just wanted it to be
Yeah.
clear that this is just an annual
Right.
cycle of
Yes,
replenishing the
Good point.
fleet little by little,
Yeah.
so that it's not so painful if you defer. right?
yes.
Yeah, we travel over 3,000 miles a day with the buses throughout our district, to pick up kids and take them back home. So it's a lot of miles.
Anything more? No? Okay. I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Troy, and a second.
I'll second.
And Carrie, would you please call roll?
Mrs. Brent,
Yes?
Mrs. Gwynn,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. And superintendent education reports, Jim.
Thank you. First up, I'm glad to introduce our high school students are here. There's a lectern over there with a mic. If you guys want to go right over there and talk into there for us. If you could just share with us a little bit about the K through 12 student council experience that we had last week here at the high school. And how it related to us. And I think you did a good job of describing it to the students about how it related to our strategic plan. So you guys can go right over there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yep, definitely.
They could take the
Or
microphone
are you
off if
doing
they
it for
want.
'em? There we go. You got it.
Yeah, whoever's not.
Well, thank you for having us tonight. We really love being out here. And last Tuesday, if you aren't aware, we hosted at the high school, we called it the District-Wide PD Day, or Professional Development Day. And the essence of what that was we had every single student council from every single school in the Anthony Wayne School District come to the high school. So every single kid who's in student council in the school district came to the high school for a team building activities, to meet other students, and to kind of the whole goal of the day was to unify the Anthony Wayne School District's student councils more as one. And I'll share briefly, we'll talk about it later, but the goal of this event was, the original idea came from last year. Me and Amelie were invited to the strategic planning event that the district put on. The one thing that we noticed was from a few of the administrators, teachers, and parents from the elementary schools is that they wanted to be a little bit more inclusive, included more on what the high school does. That way it's not, they felt like the district was kind of top-heavy in what gets the most attention. So our goal is to even that out, and what better way to do that than to bring everybody together and learn off of each other. So another thing we're going to do while we're here today is run through a brief presentation that we gave on Tuesday about all the things that the high school student council does throughout the year. So, we'll start.
Yeah, so here are just a few Anthony Wayne high school events that we like to do throughout the school year, kind of to raise morale and get everyone excited to be at school. So our first, and this is not a school-wide function, but the weekend before the school year starts, we go to oak openings at Mallard Lake. The student council, this is like our first official event. We talk about the homecoming theme, what we want Spirit Days to be, and then we do bonding activities, because again, it's the first event for the new year, and we want to just get to know each other. You know, the freshmen, it's their first time at the high school, so we just want to get to know each other, work out our plans, and get excited for the school year.
And then moving on to homecoming, it's one of the first weeks of the year, so it's a really exciting time because for student council and all the students. So this is kind of what the beginning of homecoming looks like when we have our lock-in and we're starting to decorate the school. We have a pep rally, and we do all that stuff. And then we pick dress-up days so that students can come in and dress up and do different things for homecoming to get excited. And then we have different class T-shirts that people from each grade design, and then people can buy them and show school spirit. And then during homecoming week, we have different events almost every day of the week, like the volleyball tournament that people create teams for and compete. And then the stadium games where they do all these different games, and then they try to pick a class that was kind of the winner. And then there's also the flag football and spirit team where the girls play flag football against each other in the class, and then the boys, or really anybody, can join the spirit team and cheer at halftime. And then for homecoming week, then we have the parade where each student council makes their own float based on the theme. So these are some of the pictures on what those parades looks like this year. And some more pictures. And then homecoming week, the Saturday of homecoming, it was finally back inside this year. We all get to decorate tables, and the theme this year was decades. So each grade had a different decade, and we kind of decorated to look like the different things that you would see in those decades.
During the holiday season, we like to help out different organizations in the community. So this year, and most often, we do Sunshine Communities. So we help them decorate their halls, get their store set up for some Christmas shopping, and then we've also done Adopt a Family and food drives. Oh, also, just right after the holiday season, we like to continue like the good energy going. So we do Coins for Cancer, where we donate to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So we do parking lot fundraising with Dump the Cup. We do a Nature's Nursery drive, and then we'll have a dodgeball or volleyball event, which is actually this coming Friday, St. Patty's Day. So look forward to that. Prom committee. So the junior class leads the prom setup. They plan everything out. They pick the theme, food, decorations, invitations, tickets. They just really get everything going, and they split up into subcommittees to do all this. So this was last year. The theme was Hollywood. And yeah, the juniors, they do the subcommittees. They'll reach out to the rest of the council if they need help with anything, maybe favors, centerpieces. There's always dinner provided, there's dancing, a photo booth, and it's a junior and senior event at Parkway Place. And then the Friday before, which is usually, I think it's May 5th this year, will be our decorating day, where student council and then anyone who wants to come, any friends, they come, we set up, and just get ready for the next day.
So, I guess one thing we forgot to start off with is to introduce ourselves. So, my name is Austin Wilson, and I'm a junior at the high school.
My name's Emily Blakely. I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Blake Luther, and I'm also a senior.
So this right here is our winter gear drive. This is something we started last year, and we team up with a local organization, Susie's Coats for Kids, and they help us supply coats, hats, gloves, and all sorts of things to local children in the Northwest Ohio area. Last year, that's a picture of some of the bags we got. We collected total 63 coats, 30 hats, and 45 pairs of gloves. That's just from the high school in about 2 weeks.
So teacher appreciation is kind of one of our last events of the year. It's during May is when the council comes together to come up with different things that we can do for the teacher to show our appreciation for them. So that includes like different thank yous, different thank you notes that students wrote. This was during the pandemic, so this was all over digital stuff where we all just held up signs because there wasn't much else we could do. And then they also get like food options, brownies, bagels, gift cards, and stuff like that.
This is our porcelain paper. This is our weekly newspaper that we do in the high school. As you can probably guess by the name of the porcelain paper, it's hung up in the bathrooms. So that's about the only place people put down their phones. So
I don't know.
on each week, we have weekly announcements, things that are going on in the high school, different clubs, general athletics, so any announcements about any sports and the sports schedules for the upcoming week, the lunch menu. This one doesn't have it, but usually we'll try to throw in there a joke or something, so. Yes.
This event was actually this past Wednesday, but so the blood drive, students can give blood throughout the day. We help organize it, get the Red Cross there, and then something kind of cool this year, anyone who donated got a $10 Visa gift card. So we'll be back with that in the fall.
And so this is, we touched on it earlier, this is kind of where we're all here today. This is our PD day that we did this, well, past Tuesday. All the news channels came and interviewed us in the morning, which was pretty cool. Got to be on the news. Here's some more pictures. Here we have Anthony Wayne there greeting the kids. As this was, I believe, as they're all coming in, getting their name tags. There's me and Amelie presenting in front of all the students. And this was, we went into the high school aux gym, and we were all split up into little groups to start the day off. And we went in those groups, and each group had a big whiteboard. And we brainstormed different ideas that we can do, not just as individual student councils in our schools, but things that we can do as an entire district. So like fundraisers, drives, stuff like that. There we are eating lunch in the auditorium lobby. There is, I believe, Monclova.
Oh, yeah, it's Monclova.
Monclova. They're giving their presentation. So each school kind of gave a presentation similar to what we're doing as well. And there is your Anthony Wayne Local Schools Student Council for this year.
One of the events that I think our brainstorming activity really pushed forward was the need for like a district-wide field day, spirit event after school, something to mirror our Monday of homecoming week with stadium games. All of the kids were pretty excited about it, and then like food trucks was something that was brought up a ton, so maybe something to look forward in the spring.
Yeah, for sure. We also thought of a Thanksgiving, kind of like canned food drive for all the schools to participate in the 2 weeks leading up to Thanksgiving break. But this is our last slide here. All of the high school student council classes, freshman through senior, have an Instagram page where we kind of keep the student body updated on various things we do and all sorts of things. So.
And then that's our full council Twitter, which is just every student council event so that everyone at school knows what's happening. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for us?
So can you tell us a little bit about working with the elementary students and FT students, junior high students, and how that worked as far as, I know you had the small groups and what those groups were, who was represented in those small groups, for example?
So in each group, it was one high schooler, a junior high student, a middle school student, and then one of the 3 elementaries. So it was really interesting, just like the different personalities there, like what other clubs they're in, other sports. And it worked together because we were at tables with one other group of 6. And so we could work to collaborate, do the games together, and then just discuss any questions that they might have.
Another really cool thing that I noticed throughout the day is each group, obviously at a high school, they kind of took the lead throughout the day, of course. But one thing I noticed a few groups, the high school would be gone doing something or whatever that may be. There would be a junior high kid or a middle schooler who would kind of take the lead over the elementary school kids. And kind of, I remember specifically one girl from the junior high, I don't know what the elementary school students were doing in a group, but she was like, come on guys, get behind me, get in line. So that was really neat for me to see the younger kids taking leadership roles as well in their groups.
I think I was impressed with, during those meetings, where all kids were active. They were willing to share their thoughts and opinions about things they'd like to see as far as activities for students and for the community and parents as well, and share those ideas during those small group meetings especially.
Yeah, you're definitely right. It was definitely, even though it was hosted by high school and all put together by the high school students, like when it came time for the brainstorming activity, it was all equal participation, coming up with ideas. It was really cool for me to see the elementary school students get up and present in front of everybody. And I know they had a bunch of fun. Everybody had a bunch of fun.
And
I think it was great to see also that they were engaged the entire time. You would think over that period of time, within a day, that you'd start losing interest and so forth. And all the kids were very excited about the different activities, and they were engaged in the conversations and discussions.
Well, and I would say even in this picture, my junior high student was absent that day. I think she was sick. But this is in the corner right here. You can see this was one of the kids in my group, and he was one of just like, he was like such a great part of my day. He was so excited to get up there and talk to the news cameras. He knew exactly what he was going to say. And he was super excited too to present up there with our week-long field day event. He was thrilled about that. But even just like the other students in my group, everyone was so, I don't know, they all just contributed really well to our ideas, so it was something that we definitely enjoyed.
And I do think that we all learned a lot from being there and how the other student councils operate, but if nothing else, it was such a cool experience for the younger student council members because they were all so excited to be there. Like genuinely, when we saw them walk in and see how excited that they were, we knew it was all worth it to put on this event.
And go for all the student councils to build leadership, and so that was a big discussion with them as well, is how do you be leaders within the school and role models within the school?
How many students are in student council? How many, I mean roughly, or how many
So
are?
I believe in total there, we had about 120 students.
Great.
It's, some schools are more, like one of the few elementary schools had a lot more than the others, but overall it's pretty much evenly split.
Sounds like it was a great program.
Fantastic.
It was. You guys want us to share anything else?
I don't think so. Is there any other questions about maybe what high school student council does throughout the year as we went through those?
Anything you want us to include in the future when we go to our next meeting?
Any ideas?
I'm just trying to think of, for you guys, when you do your fundraising, I know my son's in White House Elementary School, and I don't remember, I think what you guys did was fantastic, but I don't remember seeing any papers coming home for like fundraising for that, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, like you said, White House
We
Elementary.
usually did like again when like parents
Yeah.
playing with the dine outs and all that other
Yeah.
stuff, but I haven't seen anything geared directly towards student council as far as fundraising.
Yeah, you said White House Elementary?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what, like, White House Elementary School does specifically, if they do any fundraisers. But, yeah, I'm not too sure on that for that school.
At least through the primary school buildings, through the student council at least, but we'll check into that and see.
And like, are you thinking like Chipotle night, like things like, you know, like those sort of
The
fundraisers?
parent club, yeah.
Because you guys do all these things on your own dime, I mean, on fundraising, right?
Right.
That's not, it doesn't come out of our school board money.
Yeah.
Correct, like prom, he means like prom and that kind of.
Yeah.
So I mean, my personal opinion is I think this is something worthwhile. So, I mean, you know, I'd be more looking forward to seeing something come through and be more apt to contribute to that.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that on
it's-
the website ever?
Well, and speaking on that, that was actually one of the things that was on our whiteboard brainstorming was they thought of like Chipotle or Subway, Panera, like those sort of like nights to go out, eat, and then donate a portion of that to the school. So something to look at in the future.
And you bring up a great point about how maybe if that school doesn't do as much fundraising, right, as what we did, I think that was one of the main goals of the day, was to kind of spread maybe what we do, what the other schools do, and encourage more activities and more idea sharing. So.
Like during this presentation, you brought my, nobody's fault.
For sure, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate the program, all the work the student council at the high school did to put it on and put it together, and the student council advisors as well that helped with that at the high school, and then the ones at the other buildings to help get everybody to the high school to have the event, and then you guys putting it on. Just phenomenal. So I really appreciate the work that you guys did to do this with the other students. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, the three individuals in front of you, they did do a lot of work with it, and they're also incredible leaders within our school.
So if you can join me in giving them a round of applause.
Well, thank you everyone for giving us the time out of the meeting to present this to you.
Good presentation.
Nice job.
Next item is the facility planning update, and just want to let you know that we're going to meet with the collaborative on Monday, hopefully get finalized options from them along with cost associated with those options. Our goal is to, the goal of the survey really was to gather more input on developing options for the district. Not specific options that we're going to go with this option through that process, but develop options so that we can then put that back out to the community for the input on what the final options are to move forward with the needs that we have for the district moving forward. Our plan is to gather all of that input in April through a variety of different mechanisms depending on what the availability of people are. If you want to come in person, you can do that. If you want to view a video online, if you want to see the live stream of our presentation that we're going to do for people, you want to just fill out the survey, you can do that. You can go to our website and gather and get the information there. We'll have that all available, and we'll release that information out to, when it's available on the website, to the community as well as to our parents and staff as well, and our students for that matter as well. So that's upcoming. Also want to mention state assessments. We're in that season, I'll say unfortunately. You know my thoughts on state assessments, but those are going to be happening over the next month and a half or so throughout the district. House Bill 1, we've already talked about in the state budget. Obviously, that's a work in progress. We'll keep monitoring it, keep you updated. As Carrie mentioned, really, with any two-year budget that goes through the process, it typically, we'll probably know most of it by the beginning of June of what's going to be in the final version of that budget. It'll be interesting to see if parts of House Bill 1 get rolled into the budget. That's typically what happens, is there's pieces of legislation that somehow just get pushed in through conference committee at the end. So we'll see where that goes. We're also monitoring other legislation at this time, dealing with vouchers and the backpack bill, and those are financial, but also other bills that will affect how we move forward in the future. Carrie serves on legislative committees. I serve on legislative committees as well, so that we're in tune with what's going on at the state level to make sure at least we have some say from a district point of view to those who need to hear it from us and through our state groups that we're involved in as well moving forward. So that's my update. You see that we have 5 overnight trips listed there. These are typical trips that you're going to start seeing because of the summer months, and we have teams that are travel for team camps and those types of things. Item C, educational agreements. 1 and 3 are for students that are not really our students. It's interesting how in the state of Ohio, how things have to flow through the district where the student is getting educated. In essence, through a variety of things where a student may be court placed into our district and then is educated in a different institution other than our school. We then bill back costs to the home district, and these are the things that you're seeing there in 1 and 3. Item 2, college credit plus agreements. These are the same agreements we saw last year from these 2 institutions. There's no changes. It's state set prices. So it's what we have to pay for students who take college courses as prescribed by Ohio law. Item D, job description. For the Director of Operations position, we realized that there were a couple of outdated items based on old laws that don't exist anymore, like Jared's Law and so forth, so we had to remove those items for that job description. AW Chamber membership, as we know, I'm involved with AW Chamber and working with businesses so that I can understand from a business perspective what are the needs of our local businesses in our community. I also have different meetings with the Waterville Chamber of Commerce as well to get some information from them as well in regards to that. And then they're also a part of our business advisory committee here for the district in trying to understand the current job well, the skills that kids need in order to be successful in their jobs, so that we can try to integrate those things into our educational experiences here in our district. And then item F, transportation request, these are payment in lieu. Last year, this cost the district around $93,000. These are set by state law, so a parent who has a child who attends schools outside of our district can request payment in lieu payments for their child because they're not receiving transportation services from our district. The state sets the amount, and as long as they fill out the paperwork and they meet the requirements, we have to pay the amount to them. And so we don't know exactly how much it will cost this year because that has not been set, the exact amount, but we know that these individuals have fulfilled the requirements and met the requirements in order to eventually get that payment in lieu payment.
We do one lump sum payment to them once it's been,
We paid in June once we've certified attendance and everything.
And I would assume with everything going up, I'm sorry, Troy, with everything going up, the price is probably going to go up more than likely.
I would probably agree with that.
Went up
Unfortunately.
significantly last year from what it was.
Or was it the year before, if you know off the top of your head?
I think it was around, well, it was 250, and then it went to 300, and then there was a different formula they put in place for it. Then last year it was 530, 855-ish, something per student. So that's why the price increased so much.
Do we still run buses to these schools? So is
No, that's
These
how
are,
that's how they
these are for
apply.
students that transportation is deemed impractical, so they're eligible, but since we don't provide service, they are eligible for.
so there's no other option?
Yeah, so they're out of a range of a certain time frame. So like a Central Catholic, we don't provide them because it's outside of the time range that's required by law. 30, which is 30 minutes. It wouldn't seem like, you probably could drive your car to Central Catholic within 30 minutes, but trying to get a bus, and so forth, it becomes difficult to do. And then there are other places outside of even that, that were, Cardinal Stritch over in Oregon or, those types of things.
In some of those cases, we only had a few students, too, that
Yeah.
it just wasn't practical to take a bus to.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, there's some that are small, but this is a big list
Yeah.
of kids.
do you feel like the list has grown over the years?
I think it has grown because there's more information going out from those institutions to those parents.
That they're eligible for the
For it.
payment?
Yes.
Are we obliged to?
Yeah, we're obliged to pay them
No, I
for
know
it,
to
but-
pay it, but I
yeah,
meant to contact them, or is that?
I would have to check with Tammy on that.
I'm just was curious if that was.
Yeah, then most of the schools send information home, and then they know to
the private
contact
schools
us.
do,
They reach
okay.
out to us, because otherwise, we might not know that student exists if we're not
Right.
providing
Well, that's what, yeah, so to say, how would we
transportation,
know
so-
that otherwise?
Yeah, something goes home from the school, then those parents reach out to our transportation, and then they're provided the forms to fill out.
And the other problem we have is, in one instance, it's a significant amount. The other side of that, though, is since we can't find bus drivers
It's kind of a
to do
blessing.
those routes,
Busing, skies maybe?
that's the other side of it. As you'll see in my recommendations, we're losing 2 bus drivers, one because they can't drive anymore from a physical standpoint, and then 2 from a situation that happened to that individual. But then in another situation, person took a job outside of education, right? And so that's hard in any district right now.
That's big.
And so any of y'all want to be a bus driver, let us know. Because we'll take you and we'll train you. We will teach you how to drive a bus because we have open positions. And so please do let us know if you're interested. It's a difficult job, but it's also, as you talk to some of our bus drivers, very, it's something that they do like doing. So just let us know. Mr. Herman or Dr. Contat is around here somewhere. You can talk to him too. So, any other questions about the A through F items at this time? If not, I'll ask you to approve those in one motion.
I move to approve.
And I need a second then.
I'll second.
Jana. And Carrie, would you please call roll? Ms. Jana.
Mrs. Brent,
Yes.
Mrs. Gwynn,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz, Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead,
No,
go ahead.
Jumping ahead there.
Personnel recommendations.
Yes,
Okay.
item A, resignations and retirements. You see the list as listed there. As I mentioned, the two bus drivers positions that are now going to be available. And we also have some positions there, as you see listed, that are one-year temporary positions. This is something that we do with a variety of positions. And ultimately, those individuals resign, and we have to make the decision of whether we're going to post those positions. Do we need those positions based on enrollment? And how do we move forward with that? Item B, employment. You see those individuals listed there. We did, I will share with you that on there you see we have 3 teachers that we're hiring for next year. 2 of those positions are based on positions that are open currently through retirements. And the intervention specialist would be new based on student number increases that we know that we have for next year. And so we're typically not in March hiring brand-new teachers, but we've made an effort this year to do this because we know that the job market is extremely competitive, especially in science or math, for example, or intervention specialist. And so we've definitely wanted to get ahead of the game. And I will tell you that, I know with the intervention specialist, she was going to be interviewing with Perrysburg. So we're happy to snatch her away from them and have her work here. And so it is a very competitive market right now because we're not seeing nearly the applicants we've seen in the past. And that's something that's happening across the nation. Based on, we know that we look at enrollments and we work closely with BGSU and UT, the college deans from the College of Education's there. We know that their enrollments have been almost cut in half over the last 8 years, each year. So we know that, the pool that we normally have is going to be smaller and smaller moving forward. Item C, you see substitute employees. We're always happy to welcome more substitute employees, certified and classified, especially if you're a bus driver, food service as well. We need you in those positions. Item D, volunteers as listed. It's the time where we're going to see some field trips happening, and so you're going to see a number of volunteers approved by the board. Item E is limited supplemental contracts. We just have a few positions in this, and item F as well. We're filling out the rest of this next couple of months with athletics and some other things that are still open at this time. Item G, then you have the list of contract amendments per the request of those individuals. So I would ask that you approve A through B in one motion unless you have questions.
Need a motion, if there's any questions?
I'll move to approve.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Troy. And Carrie, would you please call roll?
Mrs. Brent,
Yes.
Mrs. Gwynn,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
All right, at this time, we will take some time to recognize visitors. We've got one person on our list today. It's Sarah Smith, correct? Did I say that right?
Yeah. Sarah, you can go over to the podium, please.
Oh, there, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's where the microphone's listed. Thank you.
And if you would just, state your name and your address, just so we can have that on record.
My name's Sarah Smith. My address is Archibald White House Road, and I got a daughter that's a sophomore. I'm also a 2000 graduate of Anthony Wayne. I spoke once before a few years ago, and I just want to highlight that I really enjoyed my education at Anthony Wayne. I was typically fond of science and math and biology, so my perspective is on this topic, which is the transgenders in the bathrooms, or however you want to state it, is coming from more of that background. So, like back in the day, like 2090s, there was all kinds of cliques. Teenagers, they're trying to find their identities. They're, you know, your self-esteem's real low. You ask how many are depressed. You know, majority of them are going to be. So we all found our cliques and groups, or we didn't, and went off our own. And it's like, it's weird because this was not an issue back then, but now we have all these other groups that have opened up. And I don't hear the kids reference jocks, geeks, or goths anymore. It's more like the trans, the pans, the cis, the heteros. And it's just opened up a whole new door for these kids to feel accepted and stuff, which isn't a bad thing for kids to find acceptance. But is this a biological thing? Is this an ideological thing? I think there's a little bit of both to that. From a biological and chemistry perspective, there's a huge, massive decrease in testosterone, like worldwide going on. So maybe kids are born this way. I don't know. I'm sure studies are going on. Then you got the ideological thing. So, you know, ideological, I want to be this, I want to be that. I was going to be a veterinarian when I grew up. That was my idea, you know, I identify as this and that. So trying to get this all into perspective, there's established like a norm, and I get that changes periodically. Even an illiterate person can see on bathroom doors and know which one is they're supposed to go in, typically, based on the little figure with the dress or skirt. I don't wear dresses. I grew up, I played in the mud, I played with my cousins, climbed trees, built tree forts. I never once thought I was a boy. I cut my hair short and everything. You know, like, yeah, I like to run around and do the boy things, but I never once thought I was a boy. I have no idea what I would be like if I was born during this day and the struggles that these kids have to go through to try to fit in and be accepted by everybody, society included. I think these kids should embrace who they are, who they were born as, their disabilities, limitations, assets, all that stuff. And don't look at who they're attracted to as a positive or negative. This should not be a big part of the conversation. I think this is detracting from a lot of the focus of keeping our kids safe and educated. That's my two things. I send my kids here to be safe and educated. And so education, you know, you got XX, you got XY. It's really been simple for me. Doesn't mean you can't dress how you want or be attracted or sleep with who you want, but XX and XY. Put that on the bathroom stall. So it's my understanding that if kids feel uncomfortable, and this policy, or it's not I don't know exactly. So however the kid identifies, they can use that bathroom of choice, that locker room of choice. When does it end? Is it the sports? Are we going to allow boys into the girls' sports? Are we going to allow, you know, are we going to just say, however you identify? Are we going to go back to the litter box thing, you know, whether it was rumor or not? At what point do you draw the line? Do we have daily pronoun updates? The kid changes. These kids should not be offended if someone mislabels them. You're seeing that in the adult world. Okay, I'm sorry, move on. Some people ideologically can't accept that. I mean, why does one person's ideology supersede somebody else's? If somebody's not a victim and you have to accept somebody else's ideologically, and you yourself are then a victim, I mean, it just doesn't, I don't get why you're creating more division. We've got enough of that in the adult world. So the solution to me is pretty simple. If boys, I'm gonna call them boys, are using the girls' bathroom, girls are changing in the men's locker room, whatever, I would say put the person that doesn't born as their sex or whatever, if they're uncomfortable changing in their assigned sex bathroom, then let them use the facilities that are single, the office space, the nurses. Don't make these kids that are girls, you know, they have a boy, essentially biological, come in the bathroom, and now the girl's uncomfortable, and the girl has to go out of her safe space and find that nurse's station. These kids are not going to put any more of a bigger target on themselves than they already have. Like, my daughter has given me a lot of perspective. She's more liberal. I enjoy debates and talks with her as much as I can and try to keep an open mind. But they're not going to put themselves out there and make an even bigger target or make themselves, you know, like, I got to use the nurse's bathroom because I don't like the boys in my bathroom. You know, they're not going to say that. They're just going to deal with it. I don't think we should make them have to deal with it. If the minority is the trans at this point, or cis, or whatever you want to be, or, give them the accommodations to make them feel comfortable. Don't sacrifice everybody else's moral, normal, day-to-day stuff. A couple years ago, there was a man in California who was whipping out his wang in a spa that was full of women. I mean, out there, that was just like, some people were outraged, some people didn't understand the confusion. I mean, as a parent, I would hope that we would be outraged, but clearly you can look on the internet and see that many are embracing this.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You've gone over a little bit, if you can just get it wrapped up.
Yeah, there was no dot or light I was used
Yeah, I
to
know,
last time.
wasn't
So, yeah, so when does it stop? Where do you draw the line? Overnight field trips? Are we letting them sleep wherever? Bathrooms? Does it just depend on the day? Are we doing a, chemistry test to define if they're biologically not the sex that they were born? Just give the accommodations to those people without making everybody else uncomfortable, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was the only,
And Sarah, I'll reach out
Yeah.
to you, and we can talk about what you'd share with us, okay? Just so you know that. Okay? Yeah, I would, I'll reach out to you. No, because we have an executive session that's going to last pretty long. I'll reach out to you, though, okay? In the next week. Okay? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you. All right, yeah, and our next item is to go into an executive session to discuss negotiations of public employees. I need a motion for that.
I move to go into executive session.
Kyle, and a second.
I'll second.
Jana. And it is, what is that, 6:54, time-wise? What's that? Roll call. Yeah, would you call roll? Yes.
Mrs. Brent,
Yes.
Mrs. Gwynn,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
All right, and that concludes our meeting for tonight, other than we'll come back out to adjourn the meeting. We won't have any additional All righty. We are back from executive session, and I need a motion to return to regular session.
I'll move.
Gina, and a second.
Second.
Troy, and that was 8:23, we said?
Yes.
All right, Carrie, would you please call roll?
Mrs. Brent?
Yes.
Mrs. Gwynn?
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
And our final item is a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Move to adjourn.
And a second? Oops,
I'll second.
Troy. And Carrie, please call roll.
Mrs. Brent?
Yes.
Mrs. Gwynn?
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
All right, Monday, April 10th at 6 PM, Kyle, will be our next
Thank you.
meeting. He said he thought he read it was in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Those will start in